Good afternoon, and welcome again to the Stoner Report. I'm Marius Stoner, Associate Editor of Cannabis Culture Magazine, and I'm here again for this week's marijuana and cannabis-related news. It's Friday, April 11th. It's warm outside. Sun's kind of peeking in and out of clouds, but it's pretty nice today here at the Vapor Lounge in Vancouver, BC. So we're pretty excited here because it's getting close to 420, April 20th. We're going to have a huge celebration again at the Vancouver Art Gallery on Sunday, and it's going to overlap with Easter this year. So there'll be lots of bunnies around for certain. I won't spoil any of the plans that we have for 420. It's going to be a lot of fun. This year we're going to have t-shirts available the day of. We'll have some at the store and at the event, 420 t-shirts. Get them. I think you might check our cannabisculture.com if you and Jeremiah might be sporting one of those black ones that are available. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and this year you're going to get a memoranda. Be able to keep something to remember it by. Anyways, without further ado, I will start with the news. RCMP seizes marijuana headed for Canada's first publicly traded grower. An Eastern Ontario manufacturer at the forefront of Canada's budding medical marijuana business is trying to find answers after the RCMP seized a shipment of marijuana it had ordered. Tweed Incorporated, which became Canada's first publicly traded medical marijuana manufacturer on Friday, says the RCMP seized a shipment of pot at the Kelowna airport that the company had bought from a grower licensed under the previous regime. The company said in a statement it had informed the RCMP of the shipment beforehand in an effort to be transparent. "We felt everything was done absolutely correctly," Tweed Chairman Bruce Linton told the National Post. "When you call police to say, 'Come look at this,' you believe you have everything in order." And from the previous editor, and now head of Sensible BC, Dana Larson, his recent blog says Canada's medical marijuana rules are made to be broken. "You won't believe where Canada's legal marijuana supply is really coming from." Last week, both Tweed and Metrum had loads of marijuana seized from the same Kelowna airport. Media reports described Tweed's shipment as 55 varieties of plants, seeds, and in-production plant materials from multiple growers across BC. Licensed producers are desperate for product, since Health Canada has been so slow in processing their applications that most of them haven't had time to grow their own cannabis. So instead of buying seeds and cuttings at a genetic base, as the rules intended, they've been buying mature plants, ready to harvest. This way they can clip the buds, dry them, and then flip them to patients. Some have been going further, buying freshly cut buds for resale. This is the so-called in-production plant materials they've been referring to. What this means is that companies who have been advertising their high-quality production and inspection methods are apparently now reselling pot grown in basements. Supply ruling. Supplier ruling sows confusion among BC's marijuana producers. As the first of BC's licensed medical marijuana producers began shipping product from Whistler this week under new federal rules, a number of facilities without Health Canada licenses continued to supply customers due to a recent court ruling. Companies such as Agrima in Maple Ridge would have been in regulatory limbo as of April 1st had a federal court judge not granted a temporary injunction last month. The ruling allows licensed medical marijuana users or their designated growers to continue supplying their own medicine until the courts decide whether the new rules requiring patients to buy from government-approved grower violate the rights of those who can't afford it. Agrima has applied to Health Canada to be a licensed producer, but is awaiting a final inspection. Chief Operations Officer James Polzer said Tuesday. Because of the court injunction, they are able to continue supplying their current patients as a designated producer under the old rules, he said. There are other facilities throughout Metro Vancouver in a similar boat, although it is impossible to say exactly how many, as lists are not public due to patient confidentiality. And another one about Tweed. Tweed gives up on the pot seized by the RCMP. Medical marijuana producer Tweed Incorporated is abandoning a shipment of pot that was seized by the Mounties last week, but maintains the company, which is licensed by Health Canada, did nothing wrong. The RCMP confiscated 2 shipments at the Kelowna airport last week, one bound for Tweed and one for fellow licensed producer Metrum. The seizures happened on the final day that Health Canada allowed companies to purchase plants and seeds from patient growers. All the players involved, the RCMP, Health Canada, and the licensed producers, are remaining mum on the issue, resulting in rampant speculation over who was at fault. On Thursday, Tweed sought to quash rumors that it had flouted the new marijuana for medical purposes regulations through a liberal interpretation of Health Canada rules that allow medical marijuana patients who grow their own to provide starting materials, plants, seeds, or clippings, to a licensed producer. Chairman Bruce Linton said the company had explicit approval from Health Canada to acquire plants that were fully grown, along with cut plants, from individual growers who were licensed under the Marijuana Medical Access Regulations. There was no issue whatsoever with Tweed, its conduct, or its approvals. Everything was in order on our side of the transaction, he said in an interview Thursday. Oh, those RCMP, they're just so helpful. Now, here's a story that didn't get very much traction anywhere, or at least not when I published it. The only one who seemed to put it up was Time magazine. Medical marijuana advocates descended on Capitol Hill. More than 100 marijuana legalization advocates went to Washington to lobby lawmakers on a subject that has seen little action in Congress despite a rising tide of Americans supporting legalization for medical purposes. Medical marijuana supporters flocked to Capitol Hill on Monday to push for legalization that would prohibit the federal government from restricting state medical marijuana laws. We're doing this work, said Steph Scher, Executive Director of Americans for Safe Access, a pro-medical pot group that brought 152 people to Washington to lobby 300 members of Congress. It's not just a bunch of potheads. Please let us do this. The House bill would offer legal clarity to the growing number of states that are legalizing medical marijuana, even as it remains illegal under the federal law. New York might become the 21st state to legalize medicinal marijuana this year, but the Drug Enforcement Agency considers marijuana a drug on the same level as heroin, and the Justice Department under the Obama administration hasn't always been consistent in its levels of prosecutorial restraint and its willingness to defer to state laws. The bill is a long shot, to say the least, but advocates aren't letting that dent their enthusiasm. Scherers pointed to groups that have issued scientific standards for quality control in medical marijuana products as a way of showing its increasingly mainstream status. Scherer uses cannabis daily. She says she can't get out of bed without it because of a disorder called dystonia, which causes her muscles to contract involuntarily. She called herself one of a million legal medical cannabis patients in America. Like I said, nobody else seemed to report on that except for Time magazine, so kudos to them. Smarter Sentencing Act picks up more GOP co-sponsors. A sentencing reform measure pending in the Congress has picked up more support from 4 more Republican members of the House this month. The Smarter Sentencing Act, House Resolution 3382, also Senate Bill 1410, now has 26 co-sponsors, including 10 Republicans. The bill, which is supported by the administration, would direct federal judges not to sentence some drug offenders with mandatory minimum sentences, reduces mandatory minimum sentences for other drug offenders, and applies the more lenient crack cocaine sentencing scheme under the 2010 Fair Sentencing Act to crack offenders sentenced before it was passed. It also calls on the U.S. Sentencing Commission to amend its sentencing guidelines and policy statements for drug offenders to minimize federal prison overcrowding and reduce and prevent racial disparities in sentencing, but at the same time to keep penalties for violent and serious drug traffickers who present public safety risks remain appropriately severe. The act is currently before the House Judiciary Committee. Bill sponsor Republican Raul Labrador recently held a Republican Study Committee session on the bill, which resulted in 4 new GOP members signing on in one day. The new co-sponsors are Representatives Bill Huizenga, Cynthia Loomis, Mark Sanford, and Chris Stewart. For a complete list of sponsors, go to the site, and you'll be able to click and read it from there. The Obama administration doesn't need Congress to loosen marijuana restrictions. A poll finds that 81% of U.S. support for medical pot, and it's time we at least allow studies. Attorney General Eric Holder is trying to walk an increasingly fraught middle ground on cannabis policy. Attention has turned to the federal government on the issue of marijuana's classification as a Schedule I drug, alongside heroin and LSD, among many others. Schedule I drugs are deemed to be harmful and have no medical benefit. With 20 states plus Washington, D.C. having a medical marijuana law on the books, and Maryland set to be the 17th state to decriminalize pot, it's clear that many state legislatures disagree. Polls have found that up to 81% national support for medical cannabis. Holder said he'd be more than glad to work with Congress on rescheduling cannabis at a House Appropriations Subcommittee hearing, but work with Congress is an important qualifier. This shows that Holder is not willing to take unilateral action. That's a shame, because Holder and Obama do not need Congress to reschedule marijuana. The Department of Justice has the authority to do so on its own. At a hearing before the House Judiciary Committee on Tuesday, Representative Steve Cohen grilled Holder on his inaction with regards to cannabis. Why won't the administration act with the pen and the phone to help people out by taking this out of Schedule I so it can be studied? Cohen asked. Because I think we're all in favor of research. Eric Holder again at the center of marijuana debate. Attorney General Eric Holder found himself caught Tuesday in a vast congressional divide over how the federal government should respond to moves states have made to legalize marijuana. During a House Judiciary Committee hearing, Republicans repeatedly bashed Holder for going too far to accommodate the state actions, while a Democrat pounded the Attorney General for refusing to call for a study of whether the federal drug classification system exaggerates the dangers posed by cannabis. Panel Chairman Bob Goodlatte wasted no time going after Holder on the issue, raising it before the Attorney General had even opened his mouth. Attorney General Holder announced that the Justice Department would stop enforcing the federal marijuana ban against persons who comply with state medical marijuana laws, Good Latte declared in his opening statement. Colorado airports ban marijuana, but try to help passengers stay out of legal trouble. If you're going to fly in Colorado, you can't do it with weed, so to speak. There's a pun in there somewhere. The Telluride Regional Airport wants its passengers to know that the only thing that should get them high there are the airplanes. The Colorado Aviation Facility is warning passengers that they are at risk of prosecution if they try to bring along their buds on flights. Even if traveling between two cities within the state, airplanes enter federal airspace and passengers are subject to federal laws. The new warning signs will be placed in various locations at the airport as it tries to walk a fine line between Colorado laws and federal laws. We're respecting Colorado state law. You can legally possess marijuana, but once you leave the airport by air, you're subject to federal law. Airport Authority Chairman John Dwight told the Telluride Daily Planet, "Once flights are in the air, you're in federal airspace." The Airport Authority will place signs at the airport that will read, "While the possession use of marijuana is legal in Colorado, it is illegal in federal airspace under the Controlled Substance Act. If you are departing this airport by air, you will be entering federal airspace." A lot of people don't equate that if you take off from Telluride and just fly to Denver, that they are breaking the law, Dwight told the Daily Planet. Oh, and there's 2:20 in Vancouver and 4:20 in Central Time Zone, so happy 4:20 to everybody there. We'll just finish off this story. Some think I'm still okay. Well, they're not, because it's still illegal in federal airspace. So the second that the wheels lift off the ground of the airport, boom, you're in trouble. And I think they're trying to develop a Star Destroyer that they can pick up airplanes in mid-flight and check them. So be careful. And since it's 4:20, or rather 2:20, I'm going to have a little bit of a butter toke. Yes, time for a butter toke. Butter is better. I'm running out of butter. I'm going to have to refill my supply soon. It's nice. I don't have a rig or anything for it. I just have this nice bong. Supplies me. Well, how's everybody out there? I hope you guys are smoking some fine cannabis. So yeah, I just want to say that I appreciate all the comments that I've gotten on the website, especially the complaints. Seriously, I've done my best to work on stuff, my glare in my glasses, not having stuff prepared, not being able to read, all sorts of different little things, and I could not being able to read. Yeah. Wouldn't you know it? Like I had to go back and right through grade 3 and 4 when I did this job, because I thought, well, gee, it's a skill. If you don't use a skill, you drop it. So stuff like that. Well, and thanks, Jeremiah. Yes, I have. I know. And today I'm wearing pants. So I'm really proud.
Nobody asked for that.
No. But just so people know. Yeah, so that was fun. Yeah, I lost my thoughts somehow. I don't know. Yeah, anyways. Oh yeah, I appreciate all the comments and all the complaints, and I'm gonna just keep them coming, and I'll do my best to do my best. Okay, enough with the peanut gallery over there. No, go right ahead. I can't wait. I can't wait to see you guys all make out.
They throw peanuts from the peanut gallery?
Yeah, why is it called?
Probably that's all they can afford to eat. I don't know. Yeah, that's right.
Why doesn't someone just look that up right now?
The peanut gallery? I don't know. It's not pot related. I'm going to have to stick with my format.
Maybe it is pot related.
Okay, enough with the singing already.
Whoa.
Are they giving you a hard time?
Always.
The cheapest seats in the theater is the peanut gallery.
Yeah.
Where occupants of which were often known to heckle.
But why?
Some things never change.
The price to get those seats is the same.
Oh, okay.
All right, gentlemen. Maryland lawmakers decriminalize marijuana. Possession of small amounts of marijuana will no longer be a crime in Maryland under law passed Monday and sent to Governor Martin O'Malley for his expected signature. Adults caught with less than 10 grams of pot will get a citation that will be treated like a traffic ticket and pay a fine, but they could no longer be sent to jail. Malley said he plans to sign the law, a reversal from views he held as he gained prominence as Baltimore's tough-on-crime mayor. As a young prosecutor, I once thought that decriminalizing the possession of marijuana might undermine the public will be necessary to combat drug violence and improve public safety, O'Malley said in a statement. I now think that decriminalization possession of marijuana is an acknowledgement of the low priority that our courts, our prosecutors, our police, and the vast majority of citizens already attach to this transgression of public order and public health. Public health, right. Such an acknowledgement in law might even lead to a greater focus on far more serious threats to public safety and the lives of our citizens. Well, congratulations for figuring that out. More than a dozen other states have already decriminalized possession of small amounts of marijuana, as advocates push to treat minor drug offenses as a public health issue and not as a crime. Advocates mobilized this year to stop criminalizing minor pot offenses, joined by the NAACP and the ACLU in arguing that marijuana possession laws are unfairly applied. They push studies showing African Americans who use marijuana are twice as likely to be prosecuted for the offense than their white counterparts. Oh, good news in Maryland. Yes, these stories are often quite comedic. The Weather Channel has some crazy theories about marijuana. The cable network says that reckless practices by marijuana farmers on the North Coast are hurting the regional ecology. Cable television's Weather Channel has joined the polarizing debate over marijuana on its website on this week, claiming that growing cannabis is a contributor to California's current drought. Marijuana growing is a budding business in America as laws are relaxed on pot use in several states. But as California's drought continues to worsen, these thirsty plants, whether grown lawfully or illegally, aren't helping the problem, says writer Sean Breslin. Breslin claims that along California's north coast, thousands of marijuana plants require 6 gallons of water apiece every day, and it's stressing the local water source. And according to Breslin, as an already extensive drought likely gets even more dire this summer, marijuana farms are going to guzzle up a lot of the state's water if dry, sunny conditions persist. Breslin also cites authorities who says some who grow marijuana without following the rules and regulations have been caught stealing water from other farmers. Breslin also cites claims by the fishing industry, which says that the pesticides, fertilizers, and sediments from marijuana farms are leaking into waterways where they can affect salmon and other fish. In Humboldt County, fish farmers point out pot farmers for disrupting the local ecosystem and endangering the fish population. However, readers of the Weather Channel's internet site weather.com aren't buying Breslin's arguments. One reader retorts, You really want to point the finger at cannabis for contributing to California's drought problems when practically every living green thing in the entire southern half of the state is landscaped and there needs to be watered? Last I checked, all that grass and all those superficial shrubs people water daily with sprinkles serve no functional purpose whatsoever. Another joins the fray. Lettuce, another contributor to California's drought. Tomatoes, another contributor to California's drought. Celery, lawns, etc. Other readers say the region's logging industry and the drought are the primary culprits to wrecking the regional ecology. And more good news from Uruguay. Uruguay to give legal medical pot to inmates. Prisoners in the jails of Uruguay will be able to use marijuana if a doctor says it will benefit their health. Uruguay's drug czar, Julio Calzada, told the Associated Press on Tuesday that any inmates with the doctor's orders will be prescribed marijuana to improve physical or mental health. Meanwhile, Social Development Minister Danielle Olesker told a medical marijuana symposium in Montevideo that medicinal pot will be incorporated into the country's public health system alongside acupuncture and homeopathic remedies. Wow, I'm starting to think of moving to Uruguay now.
And go to prison.
No, I guess you missed the last part, the homeopathic and yes. Why aren't we putting us agencies on trial for financing El Chapo's drug war? From Capone to Mexico's captured cocaine king, the villains we love to hate obscure the truth about America's secret support. This American system of ours, shouted the famed gangster Al Capone in a 1930s interview, call it capitalism, call it what you like, gives to each and every one of us a great opportunity if we only seize it with both hands and make the most of it. Since those untouchable days, Chicago officials have awarded public enemy number one status to only one other person, cartel billionaire Joaquin Guzman Leora, better known now to the world over as El Chapo. Nearly 7 weeks ago, of course, El Chapo was captured by the U.S. and Mexican authorities after 13 years on the lam. Having achieved a cultural stature akin to that of a Bond villain, his capture naturally got all the limelight, while his U.S. backers went more or less unmentioned. But nearly 7 weeks before an overnight capture at a beach resort, the Mexican newspaper El Universal reported how U.S. agencies had armed and financed El Chapo's Sinaloa criminal empire for at least 12 years. The link has been substantiated by DIA and Justice Department court testimonies, and even U.S. agents confirmed the financing had been approved by high-ranking officials and federal prosecutors. But the American media barely reported how entrenched the American government has become in the Mexican drug trade. Instead, we got photos of agents leading a shackled Guzman, his head bowed by one of the Marines' gloved hands gripping his neck, towards a U.S. Black Hawk helicopter that would shuttle him off to a high-security prison. I apologize. I think there was Guzman. I had the wrong image up there for poor little guy. This is the image for the final story and another hemp story. Tennessee hemp law moves forward. While the effort to bring medical marijuana to Tennessee failed this year, lawmakers this week legalized the growing of its cousin hemp. Industrial hemp contains very little of the substance that gets you high. It can be used for a variety of products. The bill, sponsored by Senator Frank Nicely, passed unanimously in the Senate Wednesday, and will now head to the governor's desk for his signature. East Tennessee farmers could be planting hemp crops as early as next year, but it's still a long way off before Tennessee-grown hemp would make its way to the shelves. Amber Kieran, the owner of Knoxville-based Hemp Monkeys, says this is a good first step. Hemp grows in 120 days, so you've got a fast-growing plant that one can turn into clothing, said Kieran. According to the Tennessee Hemp Industries Association, Tennessee would become the 14th state in the country to legalize hemp farming. And that's the news for this week. Thanks again for joining me here on Pot TV. Don't forget, if you're Vancouver, to come visit us at 307 West Hastings. We still have hemp hoodlum jackets, one of the best jackets you can possibly get, made out of hemp, at 50% off. I think we still have free Mark hoodies at 50% off as well. Come visit us at the Vapor Lounge. Use our vaporizers. Visit our cats. We have 4 cats. They're awesome. Come visit Jeremiah or Marijuana Man or me or Jody. And all these things fun things to do at 307 West Hastings. Don't forget 420 is coming up at the Vancouver Art Gallery as well, and I know other cities are planning a 420, so be sure to join that celebration wherever you are. Don't forget to write Mark. We're under 100 days, and despite the fact that it's almost coming up, it's always darkest before the dawn. So nervously waiting. It gets worse and worse, I'm sure, as the date comes up. So do everything you can to cheer him up and let him know that we love him. And one other thing, don't forget to visit cannabisculture.com and the long-awaited article by David Malone Levine, Can Hemp, Marijuana, and Mushrooms Fix Fukushima, Part 5, The Solution, is now up. Thank you to David Malone Levine and Jeremiah Vandermeer for editing that and getting that up. So I haven't yet to read it, but I'm definitely going to do it this weekend.
It's awesome.
It's awesome, like Jeremiah says, and this time I believe him. So...
Good piece by Liz Good on the front page as well about John Conroy, and a brand new interview with John Conroy.
Oh, fantastic, and good. I don't know if you heard that, by Liz Good, piece on John Conroy, an interview with him, I believe. I talked to her about that, and that is also up, and thank you, Jeremiah, for editing that. So yeah, check out cannabisculture.com, check out pot.tv for the latest videos, lots of fun stuff with Bubble Man and the Weed Guy, as well as these broadcasts. So, without further ado, I will let you guys go. Don't forget, cannabis is the most advanced plant on the planet. We're going to use it to save ourselves and save the world. So, until next week, I'm Marius Stoner, Associate Editor of Cannabis Culture Magazine. Take care.